There we are. I believe we're live. Hello. How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. We've got a couple of people in, Heather.
Ooh.
We've got Chris. We've got Chris Wibblechick. Hello, good evening. And we've got Lee. I think it's Lee rather than Lie. There's a place near me, pronounced Lie, but it's spelled the same way.
We've got one of those.
Yes. Anyway, hello. We've got Red Wing. We've got Laura. Hello, lovely. And who else have we got that I've not said hello to? House of Kia. Hello, everybody. So I hope you're all well. We're grand down our end, aren't we?
We're all doing well. We're alive. It's always a plus.
Oh, well, so yes. When there's certain breathing going on, it works a treat.
Yeah.
Have you noticed I've moved my funny witchy hand?
Yes, so it's not sticking out the top of your head like a coxcomb.
Yeah, it's not a good look, really, is it?
I've probably got something weird sticking out of my head, but
pink bag. A pink bag, no less. Right, it's Kev. Hello, Kev. Hello.
Kev.
I'm just you are. Hello.
Evening.
Hello, good evening, and welcome, as they say. Who said that? Oh, I don't know. Various people. Oh dear. How's your week been?
It's been surprisingly busy.
Has it?
I think it's just that thing, because all the energy's getting going now. You know, we've had equinox.
Yes.
And it always sort of, it's always like a kick up the arse for me. It kind of kicks me into a new gear of like, better get a move on because it's going to be summer soon. You won't want to do anything then. So yeah, it makes me get a move on.
Yeah. Did you do anything actually on the equinox itself?
Sadly, not very much. Events conspired. I had all sorts of plans and it didn't happen, but I observed it. I observed it the very best I could. Yeah. It's a lovely feeling when you know it's coming and it's
I know, hasn't it been nice since then as well? It's been really nice weather, hasn't it? And,
it's felt warmer, hasn't it? It's felt more conducive and the flowers are more consistent now. You don't feel they're going to get a load of snow dumped on them at any opportune moment, unless you're living in Scotland, of course, in which case that's quite normal, but not for me down in the south.
not for the faint-hearted, is it? No.
Scotland's beautiful, but it's very hot.
Down here, yeah.
Yeah, soft Sassenachs, I believe is the phrase.
I think so, yeah. No, it's been really nice actually. On Sunday, I'd planned to do all sorts of bits of gardening. So I sat in the garden with my coffee and I looked at it. And then I looked at it some more. And then I decided I was enjoying looking at it and it really, really needed doing. So I sat for a bit longer and looked at it a bit more. Very nice.
That's always good. Just observing is important.
Yeah. So, but it was funny because I think it was that day. Might have been Monday, either or. And Barney, the little grey one, she came to sit outside with me. And she was all nice and cosy warm on a bag of multi-purpose compost, which is in a plastic cover thing. It's an unopened one. So there she was, all nice and warm sitting on there. And then along came an incredibly large bee to interrupt her thoughts. And he buzzed right close into her face and she glared at it and she sat up and then she punched it. She didn't swat it. She didn't swipe it. She punched it.
Was the bee a bit surprised?
Oh, well, it was a bit more than surprised. So he landed on his back and buzzed around like in a few circles for a bit, managed to right himself, and then buzzed off, completely punch drunk.
Meandering.
And he sort of had this very strange buzz after he'd been punched. And he disappeared, never to be returned again. It's really funny. It's like, she's just punched a bee. That's just... And then she gave me that look like he was just getting up my nose.
It was too close, and he wasn't keeping a social distance, clearly. What'll happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we've got Becca in. Hello, and we've got
Maya.
Maya.
You
missed the bee punch story. Aww. Would you like to hear my froggy story, though? Because that's even better.
Well, indeed.
So I'd had an incredibly long day. I'd left home about 5:15 in the morning, and I'd gone straight from one job to another one. And that meant that I was driving home at about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I was coming up my little driveway, which has got all sorts of waterways and swampy bits that it goes over. Hi, Susie. And it's got all sorts of bits that it goes over this little driveway. And as I'm sort of going there, I've got my lights on full beam because obviously it's pitch black at night time. And I could see this little thing in the distance. I'm like, what is that on the floor? What is that? So I'm getting a bit closer, and it's not very big. It's just a little tiny thing like this. So I got a bit closer and thinking it was a leaf, but no, it was a frog. It was a disapproving frog who, for all intents and purposes, had his hands on his hips. And I swear to God, at one point in time, he looked at his watch and went, "What time to call this?" He was sitting there and he had his hands on his hips. And it's like, well, you've got to explain yourself or not. So I swerved around him and thought of lots of excuses, basically, like you do.
Yes, don't get my homework, another
Oh,
session.
God, I did. I really felt the need to justify myself to this little frog. I've never had such a disapproving glance from a frog in my life.
Sounds like it had attitude.
Well, he had something. I'm not entirely sure what, but he definitely looked as though he had his hands on his hips. And the face.
Right.
Not best pleased, it wasn't. No, it was like, right.
Communications with animals. It must have been an animal week, because I had a lovely communication with a fox the other evening. I was getting ready to go up to bed, having poodled around and done various things. And when they yelp and there's all that noise, and I'm thinking, oh my God, if my cats are out there, that could be a bit dodgy. So I just twitched the curtain like a nosy neighbour, peered round and saw this big fox, and he was still shouting the odds at me, as if to say, what the hell are you doing now? I think, I live here, sorry. So I went round to the front door and I kind of opened the front door because I just wanted to check if he'd got my cats. Oh, it's the most beautiful, beautiful creature. Absolutely in the peak of health. Right. I mean, it's dark, but I could see from the streetlights there this huge brush of tail, and he was so handsome. And I said hello to him, and I told him not to go near next door's chickens, because we like foxes, but not in the back gardens. And he sort of looked at me a bit and gave me the eye, really, gave me a bit of a salty glance, and then he went off. No, I thought, oh, well, that's my conversation with my fox.
Oh, how lovely. Actually, I've seen some deer this week, so I think you're right. It definitely has been a bit of an animal week. And lots of bunny rabbits too. Seen lots and lots of them when I've been out on my travels. I like to see a bunny rabbit. What I don't like to see, however, is when you get a nice big clump of daffodils, and then suddenly you see one in the middle of the clump of daffodils rotating, and then it sort of keels over, and then sort of gets sucked in as the rabbits.
Yeah, they'll eat anything, won't they, really? They are famous for it.
It's always the one in the middle of a clump, isn't it? We've got Lainey in. Look. Hello,
Lainey's in. Hello.
And she's saying she's very much better. What's Chris saying here? Poor frog, sitting waiting for a princess to kiss him. And along comes a witch. Well, yes, exactly. You probably thought, you got me into this predicament in the first place.
Oh, yeah. Lainey's been taking lots of pictures of birds. I'm the proud possessor of one of her calendars. She got an amazing shot of a bird that was literally just about to go in the water, like diving into the water. It's amazing. Wow. So now she's after a woodpecker. There we go. Wow. Good hunting there. The problem is you hear them, but you don't usually see them.
Yeah. I've got them. So I've got some trees in an orchard. As I sit looking out from my house, I've got a little orchard on the right. And there's a big oak tree in there, and there's definitely a woodpecker in there. And somewhere over on the left, and I can't quite work out where it is, where there's some trees that kind of go up the lane. There's obviously another one of the pair that, I presume it's a pair, in one of the trees a little bit further up, and they kind of converse with each other. But I can't work out what tree it is that he's in.
Yeah, they might be competing on territory. That could be the other thing.
Maybe. I don't know enough about woodpeckers to say, but you sort of get
little jackhammers going at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We've got quite a few down here, but I've been also making better friends with my crows up at the garage. They don't tend to fly off so much when I come along, because I make the same noise every time I come along and say hello. and they're obviously nesting. So you'll see one little blackhead, kind of sitting in the nest, and the other one's about, but they don't all fly off like they used to. So it's definitely working.
It's all paying off then. Yes.
Yeah.
So I must tell you about my stick now. I've put on the on Facebook when I was advertising saying that we're on this evening, and I said we might talk about sticks. Well, I
was most nonplussed.
Oh, were you?
I was like, oh, okay then.
Okay. Well,
sticks it is.
Sticks it is. Well, my daughter contacted me on Friday, and she'd asked me if I'd do some babysitting on Saturday. She was off up to London. She wanted to go into that protest. So I thought, well, ours is not the reason why. I'll just babysit. That's fine by me. I get to see the kids anyway, so that would be really nice. And then she phoned me back a bit later. Oh no, on Saturday morning, and she said, Freddie's found a stick, she said. Freddie's coming up for 7. Freddie's found a stick, she said. So I said, right. She said, he found it at school. So I said, yes. She said, and he wants to decorate it with you. So I thought, ooh.
Sounds like a wand.
Sounds like fun to me. Sounds like a wand, I thought. So I went in my craft cupboard and I found lots of bits of wool and buttons and glitter and bits of wire and my crochet books and you name it, I found it. I went trundling over to my daughter's, and then she said, oh, Freddie, go and get Nana the stick. Well, this stick was less of a stick and more of a tree, really.
Okay.
Because, without a word of exaggeration, it was nearly 5 feet tall and about that fat. That's
bigger than most stangs, isn't it, really?
Yes. Not longer, but certainly fatter. It's like, why are you calling that a stick?
Yeah,
it was a stick. It's a little bit more than a stick or a twig.
It's a branch.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking maybe, I don't know, sort of a foot and a half. That's the sort of thing I was thinking of. No, 5 feet of the damn stuff. Anyway.
Wow.
Well,
I've got my stang in the corner.
That might use quite a lot of my supplies up.
Yeah, blimey.
But do you know what? I was so impressed because we decided that we were going to wrap it in wool because I'd taken wool. I'd taken a sort of a rainbow selection of colours. And I thought, well, what we'll do is we'll do some sort of binding magic with it and intention magic as we're binding and all that kind of stuff, which they thoroughly enjoyed. And do you know what? They concentrated on that for over 3 hours without stopping.
Yeah.
I had to stop and disappear outside for a cigarette from time to time, and I left them to it and came back. They're like, just glue that bit, Nana. So their concentration span was better than mine was. But yeah, 3 hours, just over 3 hours we spent doing that. I couldn't believe it. I thought they'd 20 minutes in, half an hour in, and they'd lose enthusiasm and bother with that, or just do a bit of it and that'll do. No, we did the whole thing and we covered it in completely from top to bottom, covered it in wound round wool, and we put pom-poms on it, little flowers and some glitter, and you name it, we did it.
Well, I should think that size, it would have taken 3 hours, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was jolly good. So Evie started at one end. She's coming up for 5. She started at one end, and Freddie started at the other end, and they kind of met in the middle. So it was all rather good, really.
Nice.
So, yeah, but I was really impressed. I was surprised because I wasn't, when she said it's a stick. She got an interesting turn of phrase, my daughter. We call them Melissaisms. A bit like Mrs. Malaprop. She comes out with all sorts of interesting things. Anyway, so this was one of her Melissaisms. It's a stick. No, it's not a stick. It's a tree.
Certainly a branch.
Yeah. But it was fun, nevertheless. So, yeah, we put intention in there and we put things in there that we didn't like and tied them up really tight. And, yeah, it was really good. Really good. So,
nice bit of magic there, unexpected.
It was, yeah. And what was so nice about it was that I'd said that I'd babysit, but forgotten that I'd said that I would do. There was this group of crafters that I'm with, witch crafters that I'm with, and we have these sessions from time to time on a Saturday. And of course, I'd forgotten about that when I said that I babysit. So I was like, no, I'm going to miss out on my crafting session. But actually ended up doing as much, if not more, in a different way, of course. But it was, I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was good fun. And it was, nice to do some really simple, basic magic. And those are just putting their emotions in it, And it's like, what don't you like? Or let's put blue on there. Then tight, really tight. And what do you like? Oh, let's put some pink. So it was nice, actually, really good. So yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just been a hectic week, really, with work. It's just been a bit full on, to be honest. So I've had a down day today, and I've managed to dust my mantelpiece, and that's it.
It's an achievement.
Yeah, I have planned on doing that at least in hoovering, and the hoovering, I'm afraid, didn't get done. I just sat with my eyes out on school and caught up with the really boring stuff like emails.
Well, I managed to fix a Hoover.
Oh, did you? Well done.
I looked up on YouTube because our Dyson hadn't been behaving. Very practical stuff, I know, but I'd been meaning to do it for ages, but I actually looked up and found a better video that showed a more advanced way of cleaning it because the first way hadn't worked, and it's fine now. The slight downside is we bought a new Hoover, so we've got two now. That's all right.
Upstairs and downstairs. So lumping it up and down. I used to do that.
I just can't believe how long it took me to actually do it, to get round to doing this thing.
Yeah. It's quite useful, though, because I did that when I had my house. I had one upstairs and one downstairs. So lumping it up and down, it's quite handy.
Well, we've got 3 floors, really, as well. So and a lot of stairs. So having a cordless vacuum cleaner is quite essential.
Yeah, that's what I had on, because I had the 2 upstairs floors as well. It was the same. Yeah. So, yeah. Useful. Big heavy ones stayed downstairs, and the other ones were fitted up between the middle and the top floor. Yeah, it's handy.
And it got to the point where I wasn't doing the hoovering. I was kind of making the other half do it, because I am not humping that upstairs. I'm just not doing it. I spent the money on the Dyson. I wanted to bloody work, and when I realised the only way it was going to work was if I actually got to grips with it and sorted it out. Yeah. But hey, it's obviously something I'm quite good at doing. I can find out how things are done and do it. So.
Yeah, it's very satisfying, actually, isn't it?
Really, it was very satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been doing some more sort of kitchen magic as well. I've been doing quite a bit of cooking and things. Had a couple of disasters, but that happens, doesn't it? But but yeah, going on there.
I feel quite dizzy there.
Relax into my chair. Another thingy's gone on this sofa. The slats underneath. Another one.
Yes, I know. I used to sit there with my arse hanging through the bottom of it.
Yes, I know. Well, another one's gone now, and it's on the floor. So that's going to be my job when I get some time off.
Yes. Well, I can give you a hand with that when we're allowed to meet again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I'm going to need some new rubbery bits on it. I don't know where I'm going to get them from, but still, I'm
probably
sure
eBay or somewhere else. But you also need the stapler, the thing to fasten it down with.
Yeah, because it's got these strange metal. I showed you, didn't I? It's got these strange metal holder things. But I don't know. We'll do something or another.
Exactly. So because the week's been so busy, I didn't get to do as much in the garden as I would like. But I'm very aware that I need to. There's things like geraniums and stuff that I kind of need to divide up the clumps and spread them around the garden a bit more evenly. So I'm hoping I can do that this weekend coming, because you need to do it before things really get going in the growth department. So that's my sort of belated equinox work.
Yeah, that will keep you busy. It's ideal to get it in before the end of March, really, isn't it? But I've got
and there's an optimal time, and it's quite magical as well, because you're taking something that's, if you just leave it as is, it kind of dies in the middle and then just spreads all very haphazardly. But by splitting and dividing it, you actually get a lot more abundance. So it's a great abundance thing.
It is actually. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've got lots of seeds that I need to get going, but I've not been in long enough for getting anything done. So I should be quite having a couple of days here and there where I can do that. I've got the next couple of daytimes off. So I'm off out in the evening, but I've got the next couple of days off, I think. Yeah, I've got tomorrow and Friday off in the day, and I haven't actually got to leave the house until about 6, so that's quite handy. So
Yeah. We find things are getting busier now because it's not just the time of year, because we're going to start coming out of lockdown things. People are starting to plan ahead now. And I've been so used to having a fairly empty diary that it feels a bit busy.
Overwhelming, actually. I feel a bit overwhelmed with it.
How did I put all that in? How did I do everything?
I know. I've been sort of having messages from people. It's like, when you're coming back for this and when you're coming back to that. I'm like, I don't know if I've got time.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Because I'm not used to quite such the rush that life used to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's something to take out of this, which is by all means we engage with things, but that perhaps we can be more selective about what we choose to engage with. If it brings you joy and makes you feel wonderful, then fabulous. But if it really isn't, then surely time for a bit of reevaluation.
Knock it on the head. Yeah, exactly. So I've been having a bit of a think about some of that with some of the, with some of the communications that I've had, because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I've got time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like the drumming, I'd love doing that, and I will. It's a hell of a long evening. It's a very long evening, but you and I have both got a big distance to travel now to do it. But when it comes back on, we'll be in, quite quickly and soon pick it all up again. But there's quite a few other things I'm thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I'm thinking I'm not necessarily going to get back for. Drumming is not one of the ones that I'm considering. I will be there drumming, drumsticks in hand, and drum round the middle. I can't wait. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
I know. Well, I mean, we literally haven't really done it for a year, apart from a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I managed to get quite a lot done. I know you weren't able to, but I managed to get some done. Sort of May to about September, we did a fair bit.
We weren't allowed to travel though. That was the problem.
It wasn't the normal complement, obviously, and it was, in different strange venues for the most part. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to it then.
I'm looking forward to that. That would be really nice to get going with that. Yeah, I miss that. I do, and I miss the people there too, because they're such lovely people, aren't they?
They're a nice bunch. Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, that's a good social thing where I don't mind. Some overcrowded social things I'll be thinking,
Yeah, but it's not overcrowded. There's plenty of room for everybody in that hall. So yeah, no, that'll be nice. I'm looking forward to that. And it's such sort of a guttural, primal thing to do, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah. We can't shout loudly enough about the deep pleasures of drumming. It's like breathing. It's something you really, really want to do.
Exactly. And of course, there's been lots and lots of studies on drumming and the benefits of mental health with drumming and all that kind of stuff too. So
it's definitely magical, isn't it? I mean, you get lost in it. It's just uplifting. You can't not feel energized and in tune with other people and connected. And it's just wonderful.
It is. And much as I like drumming on, obviously it's a different drum. Much as I like drumming on my, I've got a skin drum or whatever. And I like doing that. And I like drumming in my fields to my cows and the corn and all that. Check out Facebook if you don't believe me. It's there. And I like drumming to cows, but it's not the same as drumming with a band. It's just not the same. They haven't got the rhythm for a start.
Have you ever seen a cow with rhythm? No. Oh, hello, Lex. Oh, it looks like Chris had a bit of an interesting experience.
Have a look.
Yeah, take a peer. She came a cropper.
Oh, yes. Yeah, brought to her knees. That reminder that the trees work at a slower pace than us and to be respectful. So obviously fallen over. Where are we? Too impatient towards the poor tree with my secateurs in my hand as I asked, and ended up on my knees in the mud at the base of the tree. So was that the tree saying no? Possibly. I'd have taken that as a no.
It's certainly quite a subtle hint, isn't it? Like,
yeah, subtle as a brick.
Worship.
Snake up. Okay. I'll have a twig. I'll have a leaf. I'll have a blade of grass. Oh dear, oh dear. We've got Alexa in as well. Hello.
Yes, Lex is in the house.
Hello, hello.
She's
Yeah.
recovering well, aren't you, Lex? You're doing brilliantly.
Good. Good, good, good. Yeah. Yeah, it's a nasty surprise when that sort of thing happens, isn't it? But it's an interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I find that I like to ask permission for whatever it is I do, whether it's, trimming or pruning, or in your case, you're saying about dividing up your geraniums, even that. I kind of just, even if it's just explaining to them mentally what it is I'm doing and why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I always do that. I did a big sort of pruning and what I call a hacking back, although it was done a bit more respectfully than that in the garden. Yeah. And I literally had to ask the whole garden because each individual plant would have taken forever. But it was just a case of, it's time for your annual haircut. I leave you alone. Yeah. I don't mess with you after this. But you'll flower so much better. You'll have room to move. You won't get chopped and fiddled about with because you're in the way. So I always kind of preface everything, and then I just go and get stuck in, and it's always fine. And of course, you get lots of material for wands.
You do.
I'm drying off some elder and some ash and some apple as we speak. So it's all drying off in the shed. So it takes about a year, I reckon, to get properly dry. But
yeah. I've got some apple from about 3 or 4 years ago, actually. It was gifted to me, which was really nice. So one of the chaps that comes to our moot, the real life thing where you actually meet people. And we'd had a pruning session, and he gave me loads of apple wands, basically. And so, I've still got them, and I've got various other ones as well. They're well and truly dry now. But I always find it's a dilemma for me how to decorate them, or whether to leave them alone and have them as they are, or I sort of look at them and wait for them to speak to me. So I sort of take them out one at a time sometimes, and sort of leave it around so that I notice it. And sometimes it's like, no, it just needs either nothing to it or just to be left alone. And sometimes it's like it's not ready for it yet. And then sometimes you get that it kind of demands that it needs runes on it, or it needs Ogham on it, or it needs crystals on it, or whatever. And they speak to you. It's like, oh, I could put that on there. And you get this flash of inspiration, and that's when you know what to do with it. And I rather like that. I think that's nice.
Exactly. And I kind of think they're probably not necessarily for me anyway, but I'm drying them out and they will be useful for somebody. I can pass them on, or I mean, I've made my own ones in the past, but I'm still using those. I kind of don't need too many others. But it's just because I don't like it going to waste. It seems right to use it, and put it to good use.
Yeah.
Lex has been to the shops. Now, Lex is in Wales, so I'm guessing there's something slightly different about what's open and when. So,
I wonder if the shops are open in Wales. How bizarre.
Well, I know they had this weird thing in Wales where even in the supermarkets, when they have the weird aisles in the middle of Aldi and things like that, they were saying you couldn't buy things that they thought were non-essentials. They taped them off. It's like, but you're in the shop. Why can't you buy it? Because you can buy it online.
Yeah.
They had this old thing where, I don't know, like a birthday card was essential. No, a balloon was essential, but a cake, something else wasn't. It's absolute screwballness. We've never tried it here because I reckon they get lynched. I
do remember seeing pictures of things taped up. I think it was the alcohol aisle or something like that, because it wasn't classed as essential. Or
God, that is an essential. It's kept me going through lockdown.
Cheers.
Indeed.
Yeah. No, it was something like that. But everybody was up in arms about it, saying, the flipping shop's open anyway. Why is that taped off?
Well, exactly. Plus, you could order it online from somewhere, so you weren't helping local businesses in any way, shape, or form by not buying. Stuff. Yeah. Oh, she got paint. There we go. She got paint and cat food and bits. She went to the range, B&Q and B&M.
Wow.
That's quite a selection. That's a lot of shopping, considering. I hope you took it easy.
Wow. I wouldn't do that in the before times, to be honest. That many shops.
I hate B&M. We've got one very near us, and I've been about 3 times since it's been open. I
Yeah.
prefer Home Bargains. It's less crowded and a bit more civilised.
No, I do the shop thing. I'm just really rubbish at it. Charity shops, yeah. But
yeah.
I just find it all a bit. I think it's because it's big and there's people. It's just so much stuff, and then I don't know where to start. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know, and then I just have to leave. I can't cope with it.
It's
So,
overwhelming, isn't it? You just think, oh, I can't even think clearly when you're overwhelmed by too much choice and too much stuff. It's why I go to the same supermarket every time, because I know where everything is.
Yeah.
I know I have a list. I know exactly what I'm cooking for that week, literally. So I go in and I buy what's on the list. So I don't have to think, oh, well, get sidetracked by extras.
Yeah.
Unless it's wine.
It's a bit easier, definitely. No, I'm just not very good. I've had panic attacks literally had a panic attack in a couple of panic attacks in the middle of TK Maxx. Much to
easily done.
Disgust. Went there with Hazel a couple of times. One in Croydon we went to. Had a panic attack in the middle of it.
Huge.
Yeah. And so I had to be ushered outside into the Drummond Centre, sit there and calm down while she managed to go back in and buy her pots and pans or whatever it was that she was buying.
Primark will do that to you as well. I remember going into a very big one in Birmingham with my cousin-in-law, I suppose, niece-in-law. Anyway, I don't know quite how that works, but literally, because somebody in the group wanted some Harry Potter stuff, so we went in there, and Jessica and I basically just stood there and went, I can't wait to get out of here. This is horrible. It was just awful.
I don't know how people enjoy it. I genuinely don't understand it at all. I know people do, and I'm not criticising.
I don't get it.
I just do not understand it at all. I find that completely beyond the realms of viability. I just like, whoa, why would you go in there on purpose?
But the thing is, I say that I hate shopping, and by and large, I do hate shopping. But you see me in a charity shop, and I'm a woman on a mission. I'm not buying for me. I'm buying for resale and ostensibly for other people, so it's easier. And I think it's different. There's a purpose to it. Although I did buy myself 2 pairs of trousers.
But they're smaller, aren't they? It's a smaller building. You've not got the overall. Yes, you've got a lot of stuff.
I would love a big, huge charity shop like in America. I'd be in heaven.
No. I think it's the fact that it's big. I can't hack it. I think.
Yeah. But for the first time, I actually bought myself 2 new brand new items of clothing. I haven't bought new stuff in quite a while. And it was they were 2 pairs of trousers, because I could get long trousers.
Yeah.
Long enough trousers, as we know, that's always an issue.
Yeah.
And they're like a skinny flare, which is fairly hard to find, and it's a bit of a departure from my usual skinny.
Yeah.
So I treated, but that would probably last me for the next 4 years,
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice too. Did you go to a paper shop for that, or the internet?
No, it was the internet. I actually bought something off ASOS or ASOS or however it's said.
Oh wow!
I know. I've never done it before, and I got a bit of a discount. It was 2 pairs of black trousers. They were black. But they were my size and long enough. I thought, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see online shopping, and I keep it. They both fit. Yes. I know. I was teasing
Oh dear, what does this say here? Do you have a warehouse style charity shop? We do. I haven't found a way to get to it yet though. Warehouse child charity shop. No, we don't. We've got that sort of thing over here.
Well, we haven't got one near me either, but I mean, obviously there's going to be access issues. Lainey's in a motorised wheelchair type transportation issues.
Yeah.
And when she's not steering it into a lamppost, you've got to.
Is that a thing?
It's been known.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that.
No, it's not good for you, and it hurts. But yeah, the problem is getting to some of these places, because there's more practical considerations.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you'll find a way to get there, though. I'm sure you'll be able to get in, make a loud noise, and talk about discrimination. That might work.
Wave something plastic about it. Oh no! Something flat and plastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Just teasing, Lainey. I remember the incident.
Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah. Oh no, places like that, just big shops, I can't cope with them. Although, funnily enough, I used to love a department store.
Is that because it's broken down into small bits rather than being
Probably,
vast?
probably. I was kind of, well, I was pretty much brought up in Alders of Croydon, to be honest. My mother rather liked being there. We went there quite a bit. And
I remember it. Yeah.
well, yeah, and before that as well, we had Grants, which is what the old. Do you remember Are You Being Served? The program Are You Being Served?
Oh, the department store
The
thing.
1970s. Yeah, do you remember the 1970s program Are You Being
I
Served?
do. I'm very old. I remember.
Of course. And apparently it was based on Grants in Croydon. That's what
Yeah,
it
I'm
was.
not surprised.
Grant Brothers in Croydon.
They kept the facade of it, didn't they? And they built something
Yeah,
behind it.
it listed, and then it's a cinema now.
Oh yes, I remember now. It
Mm.
was handy having a cinema you could walk to because I used to live around the corner from there.
Yeah.
But these days you have to drive to some out of town multiplex, and I just can't be bothered. I'm lazy as F.
But yeah, so my mum used to rather like a department store, and her mother before her liked a department store. So I had quite a lot of my childhood in department stores, and I must admit I actually quite like them. But I think you're right. I think it is because it's sort of compartmentalised. So you haven't got to walk in, and then you've got this vast space with stuff in it. You've got little bits and pieces, and it's not too bad.
I used to go with Maureen Brown, my high priestess of old, and oh dear, she loved lording it up in there, and we'd go to the top for a coffee. And
oh yes,
I mean, she could spend hours in there.
Yeah, my mum was like that, but it was all rather snooty, wasn't it? And the people that that worked in there, oh God, they had a condescending degree, each of them, didn't they?
They'd worked very hard to attain that level.
I remember when, it was the most funny thing ever. So I'd gone in there and I needed fitting for a new bra, having had number one.
Oops.
And my front end, which had always been fairly substantial, had gone berserk, basically. So I got fitted, and she said whatever size it was, and that it was an H cup. And I didn't even know that they made H cups at that point in time. Bearing in mind, this is 30 odd years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that they made them. So she disappeared off. And as she's disappearing off from the changing room, she said, oh, yeah, so it's an H cup. So I said, what's that for? Help. And she,
help.
Help. And the look that I got.
Oh dear, you weren't taking this thing entirely seriously.
Taking it seriously. It's like, well, it's my front end, it's not yours. I'll say what I like about my front end. Thank you very much. But all the look that I got.
Yeah, they were, and there were different little stores in there, and you had things like all the stuff that the resellers will recognise now, like Jaeger and Country Casuals, and all the old lady clothing.
Yeah.
And Maureen would always moan, you know, oh God, they always make this thing for. She was always people with a larger figure was what she was trying to say, because Maureen was stick thin and about 11, wasn't she? So she couldn't, and she was always saying, oh, I can't wear cheap clothes because I just look like I'm in drag. It was like, oh, okay. Fair enough.
Oh dear.
No one would argue with her anyway. Good God. She spent a lot of money in Alders. I remember that.
Oh yeah, Alders was brilliant. I loved Alders. Yes, sadly is no more, but never mind. But it was the place to be. And as a teenager, it was brilliant, you know, because you could mooch around. You didn't have to necessarily mooch around outside in the shopping centre and get cold. You could mooch around the entire department store all day and not get cold or wet. Great. Yeah, the things you need to do when you're a teenager in the 70s and 80s, that's how it goes. Wasn't much to do. Oh dear, funny stuff. I remember asking for a bra with a thin strap back, and not a thick one, when I was about 14. Oh, I bet you got some stick for that.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. My grandmother took me to a store like that to buy white gloves for Sunday best. Oh my God. Do you know, I've still got my white gloves from when I was a child for Sunday best. I've still got.
Do people have white gloves for Sunday best?
Yeah, they do.
Is that a church thing?
Sunday best. Not necessarily, no. No,
Really?
Sunday best. Yeah. I've still got them. They were tiny. I won't be able to get them all down.
I can't.
Yeah.
I think the only time I would have ever worn white gloves was probably when I was a bridesmaid, when I was about 4 years old.
Yeah.
That's a very long time ago, in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did. I've got them. And I've still got them. Yeah.
With tiny hands.
Yeah. So yeah, they probably stopped fitting me when I was about 8. But yeah.
I can't imagine anyone ever put me in white gloves. I wasn't that kind of child.
I wasn't that kind of child, really. That's why I think they're probably still in the, I don't remember wearing them. I just remember having them. I probably refused to wear them mainly.
Yeah. Like me in dresses.
The potion in the garden. Oh, don't put your gloves on. Oh dear. I'll tell you what I love though. Talking of clothes for best, I used to have a selection. Well, I say a selection. One, possibly two, depending on whether I've grown out of one or not. Do you remember the long dresses that you had when you were little to go to a birthday party? Did you have the long dresses for a birthday party?
I can't really remember. I think anyone trying to put me in a dress of any description was actually on a bit of a losing streak. I was not a dressy kind of girl. And any picture of me in a dress, I've usually got a face like thunder. So, yeah. Oh, I climb a tree in it, which was also, or get it wet or something,
Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, no, it was the thing. The thing was to wear a long dress to a party in the, sort of 60s and 70s. You wore a long dress to a party. That was your party dress. And I used to love wearing the long dresses. I really did. Yeah. But there you go.
Wow.
Oh dear. Takes you back a bit, doesn't it? Sticky out dresses with lots of stiff petticoats. No, I didn't have the sticky out ones. They were sort of the long, thin ones from the 60s and 70s. Yeah. Oh, yeah, cream and orange. I think I probably had a cream and orange one. And brown, probably. Yeah.
Oh, brown was always involved.
Oh, yeah.
The 70s.
Out of brown. It was a bigotry. But, yeah. Yeah, brown and orange, probably. Cool, that's yesteryears. Can you imagine trying to suggest that to a 4 or 5-year-old now?
Wearing a long dress.
Yeah, wear a long dress to a party. God, they'd have your eye out.
Wouldn't be much use in a soft play centre, would it? Which is where most kids' parties are now.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, it wouldn't work at all. Wouldn't work at all. It's just a complete. In that respect, actually, it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Nothing else has changed. That has changed beyond all recognition, really. Yeah. Quite strange, really. Yeah. Tried to recreate it when my daughter was my oldest one, when she was little. We'd have, some little parties and things. And we had her third birthday party. First birthday party I decided was worth having because now she'd gone to nursery and she had some little friends and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, the day before, or was it the morning before? Day before her third birthday, and her party was due to be on her birthday, she decided to get my dressmaking scissors, the really, really, really sharp ones, and cut the entirety of her fringe off. She cut it so short, she looked like she'd taken a razor to it.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God.
Just in time for the photos.
First party ever. I could have killed her. So I'd take a trip up to the chemist. I thought about super glue, ruled that out. How she didn't actually cut the skin off, I don't know, because it was literally so short it looked like it had been razored. So she'd literally taken the whole thing and cut it with my dressmaking scissors, the super, super sharp ones. And so I had to go off to the chemist and go and find an Alice band that was wide enough to cover the afflicted area.
Oh, what fun.
Mother was not pleased. Oh, God. Of all the days to do it. My kids, honestly. Yeah. Like,
Oh, dear.
a bit of a shock to the system, that one.
I can only imagine.
Yes. Horrible child. Yeah. Long ones for the 60s, she said. There we go. Brown and cream and orange, all kinds of kids' party dresses. Floor length back then. Long ones with 60s, short ones late 50s. Yeah, you see our 60s. Yeah, the 60s. The long ones for the 60s. And, of course, the 70s. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, dear. Takes you back a bit, definitely. Yeah, so my kids have always done these awful things. And it's always at the most inopportune moment. Well, I mean, of course it would be. But, yeah, it's always at the most inopportune moment. You think, why do they have to do that? Why could they do that when nobody's looking, or when it doesn't matter, or when somebody's not going to be getting a camera out in 10 minutes' time?
Sod's law, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know, again, it's different now because people have got cameras out all the time. But then, of course, it was not like that. People got cameras out for special occasions, didn't they?
Exactly. I was saying to one of my friends last night when I was talking to her, you know, she'd been having a tidy up and found pictures of us when we were much younger, because we'd been friends since we were about 7 years old. And people just didn't have cameras. And especially when I went off to university, I got so few pictures of me at that sort of time, because I didn't have a camera of my own. If someone took a picture of me, I probably didn't get a copy of it, you know, unless somebody gave it to me. So, you know, you just didn't have access to that sort of thing. And it's so different now. That way the world has changed. And I think it's nice that you have got all that now.
Yeah, I think
you won't forget. Stuff won't get lost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, you can lose your phone. Yes, your hard drive can go down and you lose some photographs. But the fact is, there's so many other photographs and other people are taking photographs. So you haven't got complete chunks, years, literally, sometimes years could go by without having a picture taken or even seeing a picture. You know, it's quite nice now, isn't it? That it's different. And of course, the other thing was that even when you did take pictures, you had it was so expensive to get it sorted out that you sort of had one film that might have lasted 3 or 4 years in the same camera, and
and then you get them back and they weren't what you thought you'd taken.
That's right. Yeah, it's all a bit of
someone's head is missing, like
back, weren't they?
chop someone's head off. That's usually the thing.
Oh God, yeah. So I think actually from that point of view, it's very much better.
Yeah, because now you can choose the best shot. You're not stuck with one picture of you gurning.
Yeah.
With some awful expression. Blinking.
Yeah. I've got a great set of photographs of my dad, and it must have been back in, I suppose it would have been the late 70s, I think, mid to late 70s. And he had to have a passport photograph taken. And so we'd use the newfangled machines where you put your money in. And at the time, excuse me, ow. Let's chop that off. Ow. So at the time, these photo booths weren't ones that that you could select 4 of the same or 4 different ones or whatever it was. They only took 4 individual photographs. And because it was for a passport, they all had to be the same. So you had to have the same, like literally sit still for the next one and the next one and the next one to do that. So he put his money in. Black and white these were. So you put his money in, and of course then you position yourself because it all lights up and you get yourself ready. And then a sneeze started brewing. It's the most brilliant set of photographs ever. So the first one is, you know, when you get that tickle and you sort of go. So the first one's like, and the second one's like, and the third one's like, and then you've got. You couldn't have timed it. Honestly, if you tried to do it, you couldn't do it. They're absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And my dad was fuming when he got home. He couldn't see the funny side of it at all. And he's all like, "Dad, this is what happened." Because he didn't have enough money to go and get some other ones, because they were expensive for what they were. He had money that week to go and get them done again. He had to wait till the following week to go and get them. He had to wait for his next week's paid packet to go and get a new set done. So yeah, and I'm like, "I'll have those, thank you." Squirrel those away. So yeah, and I've still got them sort of 40, 50 years later, but they're brilliant.
Sequence. Nice.
Oh God. As I say, you couldn't do that if you tried, really. You couldn't. I suppose if you sort of like sniffed some pepper or something and then did it and tried to do it, but it's hilarious. Oh God. Poor Dad. Yes. Not see the funny. Even years later, he couldn't see the funny side of that.
Yeah, no accounting for folk, is there?
No, exactly. No. But it always really tickled me. I thought that was great. Oh dear. Yes. Still, I think it's much nicer being able to see the funny side of absolutely everything.
Exactly. And photos now are just so useful because you've got an image of something. They're very useful magically because you haven't got all that fishing around trying to find a photo of somebody on their own or in a situation. You can easily get a picture now, whereas at one time, as you say, it would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So it does make working with that kind of in that magically way quite interesting.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. Do you do much work with images of people? Because I don't do very much of that.
I haven't done so much lately, but there was a bit of a phase. Well, it's like anything fashions, isn't it? You kind of have a bit of a experiment and a phase with things. And I did have to do some, not exactly banishing, but kind of freezing. And so I had the image and the photo and use that in an ice cube and in the bottom of the freezer, you know, I found that quite a useful thing. Just having that physical representation of it. Also helps in identifying it later. Who was that? I remember them.
That one back in again.
Yeah, that one can just stay there.
One can just stay there in the frost. Yes.
I've still got things at the bottom of my freezer. They've been there for a very long time. But I found that quite a useful way. And also imagery is quite useful if I'm working on healing for somebody. If I've got a picture of them, if I don't know them that well, it just helps me connect. Obviously, if it's someone you know, you don't need it. But I find it quite useful.
Yeah. See, for me, I don't use images of people either for the freezer or for healing or anything really. I just don't use them because I conjure up like an image of that person in my mind and then work on it that way. And I might make a physical representation, but it's always a symbolic representation. In something that I either draw or a picture or or a certain flower representing that person. Do you see what I mean? I did that rather than an actual image.
Yeah, I don't use it so much now, but I think at the time it was just a very shorthand way when it was somebody who I knew about them, but I hadn't seen them often enough to have a very clear connection. It was just a useful. It was like this has got to happen quite fast.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Never really occurs to me to use that, and it's I just don't use that at all. As I say, it's always a certain something that I'll use to represent a person, rather than an actual image of that person. It never really occurred to me to do that before.
Oh right, yeah, because if I've got somebody that I just want to that I happen to come across a picture of them and it makes me think of them, and then that makes me think, it makes you connect with them. I suppose I'm very visual in that sense, and I just find it's a useful way in. It's one of many, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't really use that. I'll have to experiment with that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't do that. You see, every day's a school day.
I suppose because you always think what you do is so obvious that surely everyone must do it, but of course.
Yeah, and I just don't do that. I just really don't. Even if it's for whether it's something for somebody that I know very well, that family member, or somebody that I know vaguely, or somebody that I don't know that someone's asked me to do something for them. I don't ever think about the actual physical attributes, what they look like, and it doesn't matter to me whether they're blonde, dark haired, brown, black, blue, pink, whatever.
No,
and it's just
a hook. It's just the connection.
Yeah. I really thought about that. Well, that's interesting. Good God, something we do differently. Good God.
We do a lot of things quite similar, I know, but
there are differences, and it's nice to find one.
It is, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because there's so many similarities, and that's really quite polar opposite. Really, I don't do that at all.
Yeah, I don't always do it, but sometimes it's a useful in.
Yeah, I can see that it is, but I just don't do that. Ooh, I shall have to experiment. I like experimenting.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I can see some bits of paper floating around in my freezer. Do you know, it was really interesting when I had to have a new fridge freezer. Obviously, it's rented here, so it was paid for by my my landlord, and that was quite interesting. Taking the people out of the freezer and putting them back in again.
Did they defrost or did they stay frozen?
No, they stayed frozen.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Stay frozen. But it was like, can you come out? No. Can you go? No. What about you? No.
Stay put. You'll stay for a long time.
For a long, long time. Where's my frosty bit? Yeah, so they all went back in again. Yeah. Pieces of paper, I might know. Yeah. Rather than actual body parts.
Yeah.
In case anybody's wondering, people in the freezer equates to, in my case, names on a piece of paper rather than actual body parts.
Yeah, much more sound way to work. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. Much more legal way to work as well.
Well, yeah, there is that. No one wants to be turning up on crime. What?
No, and also they take up an awful lot less space when they're only a piece of paper rather than an entire limb.
It's a consideration and quite an important one,
especially in a small house like mine. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't got a great big chest freezer, you can just lump things.
No, I mean, I don't know how many people you fit in a chest freezer, but I've got about 14 people in my little tiny freezer. So yeah, they wouldn't fit. They weren't just pieces of paper. So no.
Good.
Oh dear. Well, I think we'll on that rather unsavoury note, we'll leave him, don't you?
Yes, that's the sort of magic you really have to think twice about doing. Yes.
Oh dear. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
And yes, we will see you next week, no doubt. And yes, have a good week. Enjoy the weather. It's getting nicer and it's getting warmer. So enjoy, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio.
Bye-bye now.